Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about how it feels to be a refugee. That is a thinker, and that is what we will be thinking about today with Kay. Oh, look at that. It rhymed. How cute. So thank you so much, Kay, for coming on to my show. I truly appreciate this. I am honored to talk about this. I am excited to talk about this and hear your perspective. So let's dive right in. When you hear those words, how it feels to be a refugee, what does that make you think about?
Well, it makes me think about the first time through very interesting circumstances that I visit a refugee camp at the end of the Cold War. The refugees are coming from all the countries that the USSR has decided, okay, we're going to free you now and leave them with no infrastructure, no jobs, no electricity. I mean, it's terrible. So these people pack up whatever they can and they can travel with, and they go to the nearest Western country. I happen to be in Vienna, Austria at the time. I'm an international opera singer. I was apprenticing there, and I was also singing in a lot of the cathedrals. And a priest actually asked me to come and see it, to see what I could do a to give these people some kind of entertainment since I was in that business, and then second of all, to see the conditions and then try to go and get mentorship from the opera crowd of Vienna, which are going to be the upper echelon of the economy. And so it was kind of twofold that priest asked me, and so that was my first experience. And then I got really involved in the refugee camps for a very long time. So,
Wow, that's beautiful that you were able to experience something like that nobody really has a fathom of what actually went down there. You know what I mean? You could hear stories, but at the same time it's like surreal when you're able to actually hear a testimony. You know what I mean? Because a story
well,
and a
yeah,
testimony are two different. So it's like it's your testimony and you put it in your books, in your book, and then it now if God forbid anything happens to you, everybody's able to know the truth. You know what I mean? Know what you experienced, see it in your eyes, in your heart, how you felt. You know what I mean? I mean, do you have a passage from your book that you don't mind sharing with us?
yeah, it's when she first enters the camp.
Oh, I would
So,
love to hear that. That would be perfect. Yeah.
gently pushing through the crowd in the reception tent, I hear someone calling my name. Looking around, I spot a young woman wearing jeans and a Red Cross vest. She's waving her arms, and when she sees me, she comes forward and gives me a robust hug. Ashley, I nod. I'm Jen Miller. Father Delaney asked me to walk you through our camp so you can meet some of our guests. As we leave the reception tent, she kicks a ball made of old duct tape back to the kids playing in the field. I'm touched by the way she refers to the refugees as guests. She leads me down the dirt lane towards the resident tents. He mentioned that you're providing entertainment. That would be a blessing. I nod. Do you think they'd like music and dancing and maybe a puppet show for the children? My eyes land on a woman passing by carrying a haggard looking toddler. Jin laughs. Oh, I think the children would love a puppet show. I instantly like her. Why don't I follow you around as you work and I'll throw in a hand whenever it's needed? She looks me up and down and hesitates for a moment. With an odd expression, she replies, I don't think that you're dressed appropriately for the job. It can get pretty messy. Smiling, I assure her, it's okay. I grew up on a farm. I'm not afraid of getting my clothes dirty. Jen shrugs and smiles. Okay, let's head over to number 11. I follow her into an enormous, dimly lit green tent filled with rows and rows of army cots. Every cot is occupied. Mothers nursing young babies, toddlers napping, wrinkled elders gazing blankly towards the door. Many of them look up when we enter. Instantly, several of them raise their hands and call to get our attention. The first woman we attend to is stretched out on her back, softly weeping. She must be at least 85 years old. My heart sinks. A middle aged woman approaches us and is jabbering away in some Slavic language and pointing to the old woman. The middle aged refugee is obviously telling us that we need to attend to her. She seems very irritated. Jim pushes her aside to get to the older woman. I squeeze in on the other side of the cot. When Jim tries to pull away the army blanket, the poor woman grabs tighter and shakes her head emphatically, tears streaming down her face. The smell is overwhelming, but I lean in and whisper in Jen's ear, she's had an accident. Why don't we see who else needs help and I'll get her cleaned up? Jen looks at me apologetically, but I quickly take charge. Show me where the supplies are and I'll get started. She quickly gives in. The supplies are in number 3. I've got this, I add. After I'm finished, I'll have to go, but I've seen enough to make my report. That and then some. The conditions are worse than I could have imagined. She nods her head like she understands. Thank you again for your help. I smile. No problem, Jen. Thank you for all your work here. You're an incredibly strong and dedicated woman. God bless. As she walks away, I turn to the middle aged woman and motion for her to follow me. She does, and I sense her relief when we bring back needed supplies. When we return to the tent, I motion for a few other younger women who obviously know the old woman to come and help. I have each of them hold blankets to form privacy screens around the cot. Once the old woman sees this, she allows me to pull the soiled bedclothes away. As I lift her to remove her bedclothes, she begins to speak through her sobs. I haven't a clue where she came from or what language she's speaking, but I read the pride in her expression. She is trying to tell me all that has happened to land her in this condition. My heart breaks for her. The stench turns my stomach. I find myself holding my breath, feeling dizzy. How long has she been waiting to be cared for? Her skin is raw, blistered, and bleeding in places. I continue to hold my breath until I can place it all in a plastic bag. That's one of the advantages of being an opera singer. I can hold my breath for an amazingly long time. The old woman's sobs are quieting. After sponge bathing her, I start applying petroleum jelly on the bed sores. I'm fighting back the tears. She's lost everything she's ever known. Through no fault of her own, she lives in a state of humiliation and shame. I gaze into her dark, wizened eyes to let her know that I do understand. And then I begin to quietly hum Amazing Grace. It's the only way I can soothe her. Everything in the room goes quiet. So I sing louder and add the words in English until the sound of my voice fills the tent as I dress her in fresh clothes. The middle aged woman pats my shoulder and smiles down at the woman on the cot. Her whole being is filled with peace now. I finish my song. All the women who helped me start jabbering at once. I know exactly what they're saying. Thank you. The human voice in song has a great healing power. What they don't know is the invaluable gift that woman has given me. I know now that it is in our most humbling actions when we do the most good. Smiling, I lean down and kiss her wrinkled and weathered cheek, and then make my way through the rest of the tent. It's dreadful. Everything has been stripped away from these people. They have no jobs, daily chores, school, church, or recreation. I see a young girl gnawing on a hard crust of bread. She sits at the edge of a group of boys who are entertaining themselves by kicking around a coffee can. Every day they live with only what is given to them, and it's obvious the resources are limited. Somehow I've got to get these kids some real toys. I check my watch. It's time for me to leave.
Dun dun dun. I loved it because I can see everything that you're saying, and I used to be a caregiver, so I know exactly what you mean when you talk when you were describing the bed sores, you were describing oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? That sincerity with her eyes and everything. Like, man, it
Hmm.
really is something to give somebody that dignity back after they feel like they've
Yeah.
lost it in something that was uncontrollable. And oh my goodness, to see children utilize the bare minimum and try to make the best out of it. Oh, it is heartbreaking
Hmm.
because it's like, I know you deserve best, but at this point, it's like, what can I do right now? Nothing, but I will, like you said, I will have to figure out how to bring toys to them. Like that right there is
Hmm.
humbling because it just shows like humanity needs to remember how to be human again, how to
Yes.
connect with one another. And when you talked about how music is a universal language and how
Hmm.
everybody understood and they absorbed the emotions, they absorbed it in such a way where it brought them all peace. Like that is something that, I mean, I even spoke to somebody about that, how music really changes our perspective. It changes
Oh
our
yeah.
heart, it changes our outlook, it could change our mood. Like it really does speak to us in a manner that is like, oh, breathtaking sometimes, you know. So it's like to
Hmm.
provide that, you know what I mean, to provide that in that moment in your book, it really does show that that was you didn't know what else to do for these people, but you knew that you needed to provide some type of love. So here's this, the only love that I can give you right now is through song form, you know. And I think that is so genuine, and like I wish people can just take that and just consider like, you don't have to provide money, you don't have to provide a brand new house to everybody. You just
Hmm.
have to be some type of kindness that is genuine. You know what I mean? And if all you have is a smile, give a smile. Man, a smile have
Absolutely.
saved lives, you know, and is
Hmm.
truly, truly something. And man, why do you think, in your opinion, people reject others that are considered to be refugees?
Well, after all my experiences, I'm back here in the States now, and I'm absolutely fighting that every day with people. Um, I'm
Yeah.
actually, my partner's a refugee, well, he's not a refugee, but he's an immigrant, and he could have been a refugee. It, came close. I mean, it's to me, it is one of the worst things that any human being can do is to only be able to relate to one's life, their own backyard, and not to care about anything else.
Absolutely.
Uh, that is very prevalent right now. Me. If it isn't
Mhm.
affecting me and my kids and my grandkids and, my friends, then I don't really care. I don't want to get involved. And I don't want anything to change. That's the other thing. People are so, they just live in fear. They live in fear about everything. It's almost, some kind of crazy notion that if I were to help some, like for instance, in my town, I live in the upper Midwest, we are getting a lot of immigrants coming from Mexico. Okay. And it's a college town, and it's sort of split. You have the people that are welcoming them and trying to help them in any way they can, with second language classes that are popping up, and food programs and recreation programs and all. I house people because I have a large house, and I did share it with my mother, and she passed. And especially during COVID, I just thought the facilities that could house people for low income housing in this town were just bursting at the seams, and they had waiting lists. And I started trying to help this fellow that I was working with, that I met, that was working in food service, and he was single father. And as I got to know him, I found out that he was about ready to become homeless. So I went to this facility called Bethel House, and I said, I really want to help this young family. And they said, well, we have like a waiting list for, like a year.
Yeah.
And so we discussed things. Before I left, I had signed the papers they could move here. inside with me, my own home.
Yeah.
Well, I was just busy getting everything ready because he had, a teenage girl and a toddler girl. And, I was just, and my friends were helping me. And then, it happens. And then my neighbors start giving me flack. Like, well, who's that Mexican family that is staying with you? I couldn't believe it. And this is a college town where, I mean, we're pretty diverse, but, not economically, we're not diverse that much. You know what I mean? Not in
Yeah.
this neighborhood. And so, yeah, some neighbors, and I still don't hardly speak, but, it's like, wow, 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 you know, and yeah, it's just like if it's not affecting them or one of someone they care about, they could care less and they need to. Because you know what? It's kind of like homelessness, you know? What do they say? It only takes like 5 degrees and we're all on the street,
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it really does. I know how that is. I've been homeless before. I slept in my car. I know exactly how it is. I most definitely know.
Hmm.
And I agree with you. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from a small town. I know racism is real. I know discrimination is real. I know that people are prejudiced. They have their own reasons and they'll stand by it till death do them part. You know what I mean? They
Hmm.
will stand by their prejudice because they have their reasons. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day,
Hmm.
their reasons removes the fact that you're human, removes the fact that they're human, and removes
Hmm.
the fact that you don't even have to invite them in your house. You can just be kind. Just say hi,
Yeah.
how are you doing? You know what I mean? You don't even have to say hi. Keep it civil and smile and keep it going. You'll smile at the person at the grocery store, but you won't smile at your neighbor because why? They're a different color than you. They speak a different language than you. They do something different than you. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
so petty for me. You know what I mean? It's so
Hmm.
petty to find something so tiny to discriminate someone on. You know what I mean? If we have different religions, it's okay. It doesn't matter to me. We have different
Hmm.
vocabulary. It's okay. It doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter because at the end of the day, my job is supposed to just love people. My job
Hmm.
is to accept people where they're at. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna be like cautious, and I'm gonna have my my guards up when it comes to in the right moment for the right situation. You know what I mean? We
Hmm.
have to be realistic. You know what I mean? You don't have to be in defense mode, survival mode every single day, every single hour with every single person. Like, come on. When there's a real
That's
war, when
right.
we're actually have a battlefield in our yard, then okay, yeah, you go your way and don't ever speak to me. You know what I mean? But or we
Hmm.
get together and we make it work, because like let's be honest, when you see these movies about like an apocalypse and things like that, what binds us together? The fact that we're human. It doesn't matter if you're from India or if you're from Mexico, if you're from
That's right.
wherever in the UK. It's just the fact that you're human and we're the last ones, so we're gonna stand together because we are all we got. But the fact that it's all about that individualistic mindset is it's all about me, 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 like you were talking about. People are very selfish, people are very entitled. And like when we remove that and we realize like love is what we need to move with, compassion is what we need to move with, then we
Hmm.
will all move in a different manner. If you
That's
don't
right.
agree with me, that's okay. It's all right. You have the right to not move in that manner, but you also have the right to be decent. You know what I mean? Just be decent. So I agree 100%, Kay. And I know time is catching up to me and it's sad because I feel like we could keep talking, boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? I'm really liking it. But what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
Well, getting back to it could happen to you kind of thing, and you were talking about a battle in your front yard or anything. Well, I saw, I was living in New York for 17 years because I was an opera singer. And, um, New Yorkers, I mean, we are very diverse, but, we kind of just stick to our own too, Um, and where I saw that completely change was during 9/11, the day of 9/11 and the weeks after. People
Yeah.
changed because all of a sudden someone came and attacked our city. And And so people just had such a wonderful attitude, like, you know, the grocery stores, they could, the trucks couldn't get in through the bridges at, first. And so, you know, things were scarce, and people, I had my nephew going and knocking on people's doors saying, because I'm a Midwesterner, I always have food, stored up. And do you have enough to eat, until they let these, the trucks come in and replenish the stores, and everybody was, they would, I was singing at some of the Catholic masses that were for the fallen service people. And, I'd be in Brooklyn, and some of my friends, they're in Bayside, Queens, would come up. They didn't even know these people, but they were honoring them. And they couldn't all get in these cathedrals. So they would line up on the streets, and they had speakers so they could listen. I mean, there was honor. There was like this is a time for unity, So if you think that happens, well, then what do you think happens in, like, when the thing in Syria happened? And those people are trying to literally survive. People are going to come together,
Yeah.
or these people that I dealt with in both the end of the Cold War in Bosnia. It's like, you can be going to school or going to your job that morning, and things can change. Someone can come in and try to take over your country in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're packing a suitcase and you're trying to run for your life.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
it can happen to anyone. And we all need to remember that. And we all need to help the people that is happening to.
Absolutely, I agree. You shouldn't have to be in that position to finally realize, oh, I should be kinder. You should already have that kindness in your heart to
Mm-hmm.
recognize that it can happen to me. You know what I mean? We may not, in the United States, we may not be facing physical war, but there's still the possibility that something can happen. Anything can
Oh,
happen.
absolutely.
You know what
There's
I
a
mean? And
possibility.
there's always a possibility that you'll lose your job and your car will break down, and then you are the
Mm-hmm.
one living the one in the box or in the storage unit. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
you cannot say that it will never happen to me, because it might happen. It
Mm-hmm.
might happen, because I never thought I was going to be homeless, but then it happened all by my
Mm-hmm.
grown self. It happened. So we need to remember to have that compassion, because we don't know what somebody's going through. And when you are going through
Absolutely.
something so hard, oh my goodness, the sorrow, the pain that you're already feeling on yourself, the judgment, the shame, the guilt. Oh, that's already heavy. And then to
Mm-hmm.
add a perfect stranger spitting in your face, calling you out names that not yours to make you feel lesser than what you already feel. Shame on you. We need to stand together at the end of the day, because it's
Mm-hmm.
only one human race, and it's us. We're the only human race here. We have to bound together. So yes, oh my goodness, Kay, I love this conversation. Thank you. And ladies and
Well,
gentlemen, if you
thank
guys
you for
enjoyed
having
this
me.
conversation, we can continue on thinking, because Kay has so many great books. She has this lovely website. It's available in the description. You find it if you're listening audio, if you're on YouTube, find access to it, and you can continue on thinking. All you gotta do is boop, click on it, and it goes straight there. Find her books, find her everything that she has to offer the world, so that you can continue on thinking. So with that being said,